So basically, most of you probably been seeing on various social media platforms is something that we're calling the World Foam Alliance. The World Foam Alliance is actually the brainchild of one Derek from Dart Zone. Some of you have probably met him at various events. He's been at this since January, and actually, what caused the birth of this was his own experience of the Dart Zone, and he has the lashes and everything else. One of the most common questions he gets from people is, "Hi, I'd love to join a community. Are there groups local to me?" And always his answer is, "You have to go on Facebook, Instagram, or somewhere else." And like many of you already know, go on these mass explorations to find somebody or some kind of groups local to you. As a result of it, he has decided to create a centralized place, and it is a website. It is worldfoamalliance.org, where basically it is going to be a place where you can actually go online, find out if there are communities in your area, where they are nationally. But even let's say you're in an area where you don't have a group, but because everyone has registered, you have found out there are 50 other people within a 20-mile radius of my house that would love to get organized battles going, but no one has done anything. So this will actually be a function where you can come into contact with other people. More so on that as well, there are going to be tools instituted for areas where you have a lot of players, but let's say you're having no groups or you're having challenges raising groups. There will also be actual tools available on the website for you to help create, fund, and organize a community. Not to get into too much detail yet because there's a lot, but it's going to be like even provide options of where you're able to, through the Foam Alliance, provide tickets to people, provide raffles, and even provide like possible funding. Ultimately, with this being a centralized location, it is not a money grab. There is no catch. It doesn't cost you anything to register. We are not trying to grab your information and sell to people. Yeah, no, that's not what we're doing. But by having you register, we kind of need to know where you are and if you want to play, because otherwise, how the hell are we going to be able to tell you there's other people in your area that want to play with you? Also, ultimately, by being able to create this kind of centralized location, obviously for the ease of you being able to go to one place and find out where everything is, but also the more people we have, and when you look at statistics, a good example of someone had told me is I think that last year there was 70 million dart blasters sold in the United States or globally. 70 million blasters. I'm sure there are people like myself and the captain who have bought way too many, and many of you on your own, but there is definitely a huge number of people that own dart blasters and want to play with them. So by having and collecting that large community, suddenly we open ourselves up to sponsorships, where suddenly major corporations and companies that sit there and realize, holy cow, you have how many people part of this, will happily then throw things at you and sponsor different events and provide different things at discounts and sometimes just for free. Ultimately, we would love to create an event every year, the World Foam Alliance, like a giant tournament, giant HVZ, or something like a huge weekend when you have a huge base. So you can only imagine like the possibilities stretching from this. As I ramble.
Yeah. And I've said this has been tried before, and this is the first time I think it actually has a chance of succeeding because there are actual professionals involved who don't have deep ulterior motives. And the influencers that they've brought on so far, like myself, Al the Geek, Dart Sweep, Maritime Foam, also folks that I feel are in it for the right reasons and really want to help the community grow. Because it's something I've lamented on. It's something we were working towards trying to do back in the old auxiliary days. Creating some kind of a central repository, a map of clubs, calendars of events, because there didn't exist anything quite like that, or if there was, the data was always out of date because there was nobody who was actually responsible for keeping it up to date. And the goal here, a lot of that would be crowdsourced, is the club leaders would register their club as this is our club, this is our location, here are when our events are. And that would then be put into the database so that if somebody comes along and searches, is there a club near me? It would pop up. Yes, there's a club. Yes, there are events. Same thing would be true of like HVZ clubs. At one point, there were 700 different HVZ clubs on campuses around the U.S., but there was never a central repository of which ones are doing public events. a lot of them, even though they're small events, like, yeah, UMBC is huge. PSU was huge. When End War goes to a campus, it's big. But a lot of even smaller ones will allow non-students to play, but nobody knows about it. I've been to a couple here in the Pacific Northwest where it's a small campus. They had a small club, but they did a small invitational. Anyone could come and play, and we went, and it was fun. But I only knew about that because somebody reached out to me or reached out to someone else, or we had someone in our club who went to that school or whatever. It'd be very difficult for me to, right now you'd have to search campuses, look and see if they've got an official registered club, and see if you can find the contact information for the person in charge and reach out to them as some weirdo wanting to come play with the college kids. This way we would know that this club is open for public play. And yeah, there's so many resources that this will potentially make available to people, both people wanting to start a club. How do I start a club? What do I need? What game modes can I do on a budget? These are all things that we're looking at putting through this, because I've done like game theory and how to start a Nerf club, but I got 10,000 views, whereas with the potential of this, we have the potential to be reaching tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people. And as you said, 70 million Dart Blasters sold last year worldwide. It's the second largest toy in the world after Lego. If you go to any big box store, the two big aisles are the Lego aisle and the Dart aisle, whether it's Nerf or Dart Zone or Buzzbee or whatever now. There's a lot more variety than there used to be. Those are the two biggest things, because those are the two biggest selling toys in the world. And it's mostly people who have a Dart Blaster in their garage and have no idea that there may in fact be 1,000 people in their town that would love to play, but there's nobody organizing it, and they don't know how to start it. They don't know how to get connected. The auxiliary was able to create numerous clubs were born through the auxiliary because they realized, wait, there's 10 people in Kansas City that want a Nerf. Well, let's start a club. And now Kansas City Nerf Club is a thing. I don't know if they actually formed through us, but as an example, I know there were ones that people were able to connect because there was a place for them to connect. Because the auxiliary did that. We had the thing of give us your vague location. You don't need to give us your mailing address, obviously, but city, state even, And this has the potential to do that much more efficiently than we were able to do, and to reach a lot more people. Because if they are able to do major sponsorships, then we had the advertising power of Dart Zone, of maybe even Hasbro, of any other major sponsors, major influencers that might be interested. Hey, yeah, my influencing stuff isn't about Nerf, but I love Nerf as much as anybody. I joined the Nerf, the foam World Foam Alliance. Gonna have to get used to saying that. Because if they mention it, yeah, worldfoamalliance.org, they have it on their box, they have it on their website, they have it in an ad, that could be absolutely huge. Yeah, Dwarf Mamba is, hey, we're being we're being spied on by a certain Derek Sykes. Better watch. What should we do? Yeah, toe the line, quick, say nice things. Yeah, I think it has huge potential for our hobby. And the neat thing about the Nerf hobby is how varied it is, because you've got Nerf, everything from plinking in your living room to the competitive stuff, to the big HVZs, to the small HVZs, to it's used in a lot of LARP, it's used in public Nerf wars, it's used in private Nerf wars, it's and all of that, and getting that all connected and grown, especially things like the competitive tournament. There are huge airsoft tournaments, there's huge paintball tournaments. We're trying to get bigger and bigger Nerf tournaments, and this is another way that we can grow that. That's starting to get going. The Foam Pro Tour, the BTA. We've got two different clubs here in the Pacific Northwest now: the Oregon Foam Flingers League and the Washington Foam Flingers League. Awful and Waffle. We want to be able to do more with that as well. I think it has huge potential.
Basically, also just to touch upon it, it's so most likely, for example, there's also going to be a content side where we're going to be providing different resources in terms of things that are going on in the community in general. But like for one example that we can most likely confirm is that this what the captain and I are doing right now, and whatever it is we ultimately end up calling it, we will probably switch over to the World Foam Alliance channel. So that way,
Yeah.
it's also kind of helping drive that awareness that way as well. Is that we are going to opt for all things foam flinging, but at the same time, we are not going to be so I think a great example what the Maryland Foam Alliance has happening in Maryland. They have 3 groups organized, and they are becoming quite their own self-sufficient entity, and they're growing large. So with the World Foam Alliance coming in, it is in no way going to replace what they're doing, because what they're doing is awesome. If anything, we will obviously be like another venue for them, especially if you're in Maryland. It's like, all right, through the World Foam Alliance, you can push them over to the Maryland Foam Alliance. It's more so for the clubs or groups that don't have that experience. And again, probably because it's in my backyard and I'm part of it, the Maryland Foam Alliance is amazing how they run it, and they're good. And if anything, we'll just drive two toolboxes available. That portion will be launching, I do believe, in September. We're utilize the different tools for being able to fund things. So it's all basic tools and free. And again, a lot of this is leveraging on the fact of how big we were hoping to make this, and it's just access to everybody. So again, this is not going to cost you money. Um, Also, don't get old. We're having a brain tumor. Excuse.
Yeah.
But
The
what
Go ahead.
well, back to the group. So once someone had made the comment of like, what about just modding communities? Even if it's not like the best thing about this is not has to be gameplay community.
Yep.
You can still use it to find people, set up groups and organizations, and ultimately, if you decide that you're all going to meet, I don't know, 12 times a year, but 8 of those 12 is going to be just for modding parties and stuff like that. Yeah, we're not going to tell you you can't do that. That's awesome. The whole point of it is being able to find you and connect you, and then also at the same time by leveraging how many people we're able to get onto our website, and the larger we grow, it just gives us more power to therefore find the major companies that will give us the things and tools to help grow the hobby and help you in terms of what it is you're looking for from the hobby or what you want to.
Yeah, because as we've noted, Nerf is, or foam flinging in general, is huge. It is a huge, huge industry, but it's so completely decentralized at this point that it's not growing. People aren't connected the way that they should be. Like I said, there's probably not a house in my town of 300 people that doesn't have at least one Nerf blaster in it. But we don't have, citywide events where we all get together and play Nerf because nobody thinks about it. Nobody organizes it. You think about towns that have 1 million people. The Seattle Tacoma area, our Panic, our club covers Seattle, Vancouver, Portland, and Olympia. That's millions and millions of people. And we will get 80 people at an event. And I'm sure if, all 6 million people in our area knew about it, we'd probably have too many people to even be able to function. But we managed to get to it as big as we did with no advertising. It was all word of mouth, or people, watching my YouTube channel realizing, wait, I'm in the Seattle area. What's Panic? Googling Panic. But the problem is, if you Googled Seattle Nerf Club, you're not going to find anything. If you searched Vancouver Nerf Club, you're probably not going to find anything. You have to look for the Pacific Northwest Nerf Club. Well, no one's going to think to Google that. But if there was a central repository, you could just go in and go Nerf Club in Seattle, or even a map that you could click on, and it would show you all the clubs in that area. That would make it so much easier for people to find out about it. And at that point, we would probably grow to a point where we'd need to break into multiple clubs in the Northwest instead of one, and have multiple events happening on the same day in different locations because people, you just can't go to everywhere. There just isn't enough time. But there's so much resource that are not being taken advantage of. So many people that would love to be a part of this, but they simply don't know about it because we are our side of the hobby, the public Nerf wars and the modding and all of that, is a very small subset of the overall foam flinging community. And this is an effort to make the overall more aware that we exist. Because it's weird that, like, Hasbro doesn't. There's no, as far as I've ever seen, there's no effort by Hasbro to connect Nerfers to other Nerfers to create Nerf communities. So that you're selling a toy, but no one really has somewhere to go and play with it in the real fun way that we do. And so that's kind of the goal here, is to get more of the people that are interested in being able to shoot foam at each other aware that this is happening, because that's the biggest thing. Most people aren't aware. They don't know that there's a club in their town, has been for years, because we are atrocious at advertising. We are absolutely abysmal at it. None of the clubs that I've ever heard of really have a true advertising campaign, because real advertising campaigns are very expensive. How do you get a radio ad? How do you get a TV ad? You can put something on YouTube, but only the people that already know about it are going to find it. You have to have someone who's putting in the effort or has the means or has the money to push the advertising to people that wouldn't already be seeing it. And that's something that this, again, has the potential to do, because, again, we've got people involved that are from outside of our community that have huge followings, that can connect to people that, well, it may not be their primary hobby. They probably have a Nerf blaster, because pretty much everybody does.
Absolutely. Two things before they escape my mind, if you don't mind, Cap.
Yeah, go.
The first thing is also, when we grow, to grow this as big as it is, here's the one thing that we are all actually on the same page about. And that is that we will not be at the mercy of a single advertiser. Meaning, not 6 months from now, suddenly we become Hasbro's World Foam Alliance and therefore have to do everything Hasbro tell us. No. This is the whole point of this. Doing what the community needs, what the community wants, and not what some major provider tells us what we're going to do. So by growing this big, then they are at our mercy, because then to access our people and to provide our people, you're going to give us what we want, and not us succumbing to what you're telling us that we got to give those people to them to give us, if that makes any sense at all. Because that is also what we started from the beginning. Second thing is also involved, and if you notice in the chat, if you see anything from Derek Sykes, Dart Sweep, they're also founding members of this, actually the bigger ones. And two other things that they're going to try to introduce into the actual World Foam Alliance is also the ability to create leagues, but then also a ranking system. And the ranking system will be available where we're still hammering out details, and we're aware that some people are going to fudge and lie about it and stuff like that. But we are hammering out a system to make sure it's fair, so you can actually register as a player and have stats on it, where it's a fun way to know that different competitions are different players, and in terms of your ranking. And again, this is not to make it like a, look at me, I'm cooler than you are. Yeah, that is not why we're doing this. It's also to introduce the fact that it is becoming, in many aspects, also much more competitive. It's like the foam and the 5-on-5 tournaments. So it would be nice to help drive that interest through a ranking system. It's not a we're going to make you like, oh, look at you, you're the greatest thing ever, and we got to listen to you. No. It's just making it competitive, fair, and fun as well.
Yeah, and a lot of it's more, rather than, ranking as in, well, you've got this rank, so you can do these things. It's just a matter of, this is the experience this person has. They've been to this many HVZs. They've been to this many tournaments. It's just a merit system, as opposed to a, well, because you've been to this many, now you get access to this thing that other people don't have access to. Yeah, it's the competitive side is something that is I'm very interested in, not so much in participating. I used to be incredibly competitive in my 20s, and I kind of burned myself out on a lot of it. But I know that people enjoy it. I like watching it. I like helping run it. I like the tinkering that comes from trying to perfect your blaster, and then the training that comes with trying to actually organize a team and have teamwork that's based around skill sets and blaster types and all of that. And that's just a wonderful part of the hobby that I enjoy seeing. And it, again, is largely underutilized. Like I said, we finally got our competitive leagues going here in the Pacific Northwest, though it's all still very, very new and very, very informal. We haven't been like creating teams that are actually competing against each other. It's more we're using the competitive gameplay style that you see at Foam Pro Tour or the Blaster Tag Association, but the teams are just, we need 3 people on this side, 3 people on this side, go! So it's more like practice or drill, with the intention of eventually we would send a team to a Blaster Tag Association tournament or a Foam Pro Tour or a Dart Zone tournament or a WFA tournament. That one day there will hopefully be WFA tournaments that have qualifiers around the country, that the various competitive clubs, whatever your club is, whatever your team is, you can partake in, this tournament that'll be put on, and then eventually you'll get sent to the big fancy one that's held somewhere else. That competitive side is, the more sports size as opposed to the going to a city park and just flinging foam at each other. That has a certain amount of, credibility, professionalism. I'm not sure what word to go with, but it brings it more on the scale of like paintball or airsoft tournaments. But the thing about Nerf is the entry price can be much, much lower. The price of paintball, the price of airsoft is generally much higher than the price of picking up a Nerf blaster at Walmart and going to the park. And the thing is, we can go to the park. You can't paintball in the park. You can't airsoft in the park. You have to have dedicated arenas for those. We don't need dedicated arenas for Nerf. We have some. I've built one in my backyard, and it's awesome. But we do our monthly Nerf war at a public park every month. And we don't have to charge anybody because the venue is free. And that's an advantage that Nerf has that paintball and airsoft don't, but that isn't being taken advantage of. There are lots of people that would love to do airsoft or paintball but can't afford it, or it isn't available in their area because you have to have massive infrastructure, expensive infrastructure that you don't need for Nerf. And it could be real cheap starting out if you can get everything you would need to run a Nerf war at a Dollar Tree, as far as cones and flags and MacGuffins and whatnot. You can get fancier stuff, and you can set up really nice stuff, getting cones and goals and electronic devices for scoring, and you can get into all of that, but you don't have to. You can start out for a couple of bucks and get a Nerf war going, and then it just grows from there. And that's another one of the resources that we would be providing is, how do you start? How do you get started? What do you need? What's the cheapest option? What are the more expensive options? Start here and upgrade to here. It's all about helping the community grow, because the more people we have to play with, the more fun we're going to have. The more big events that are going on, the more big events you get to go to. The more people we have, the more ingenuity we're going to see, the more inventiveness, the newer stuff. We're going to get engineers that have never thought about building a Nerf blaster that suddenly find out, oh, this is a thing I can tinker with. That sounds like fun. I'm going to do it.
Just in general, more opportunities all around.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
that's the other beautiful thing about, in general, the Nerf community. It's not 100%, but the vast majority of the people I've met through Nerf are cool people. They know that this is a silly hobby. They know that they are being ridiculous, and they don't care. And that is powerful. Those are fun people to hang around with. I have seen people who've taken it too seriously. I've been accused of taking it too seriously. It's like, I take certain aspects of the hobby that I do very seriously. But I don't take myself seriously. I know what I am and how ridiculous I'm being. But that doesn't mean I can't take the game seriously and really get into it and really get everything out of it that I can and bring as many people along as want to. But I don't demand that level of lunacy from anybody or expect it. And it's what I like about the hobby. It's the silliness. I like that little kids can play. We got tiny children who play at Borst. And the way we run our games, they can still have as much fun as everybody else.
Absolutely. So is everyone hearing us okay?
Well, solar flares. I'm sure it's a bit laggy.
So yeah, it is and again, it is going to be a nonprofit. There's going to be opportunities. It's finally kind of organizing us and the whole community into what it should be. Like I just did Otakon this past weekend, and obviously because I set my booth and sell all my stuff. But the beautiful thing is that Dart Sweep was with me, and he sets up also in my booth as well representing the Maryland Foam Alliance. And because a lot of our the cons I do are local to our group, and everyone asks the same question. Most people, they have no idea that these organized events happen. So most of the con, we're either telling them about how I paint and modify things, they can buy it, or they're talking to Andrew over there about Maryland Foam Alliance and all these people. And some of them, they live like 10 minutes away from all the various sites, and they have no idea this is happening. And so I feel this year, I've definitely been able to push a lot of local people to our community, and not just through a con. Never mind when you can actually just say, hey, go to worldfoamalliance.org, enter in your information, you'll find everything you need. And the idea being is going to be user friendly. It's don't go scouring Facebook, don't go scouring Instagram. Now, we do have everything on all the socials, but it's not to create that social media presence. It's basically putting out the feelers and the funnels to be able to push you back to the actual website so you can find it. Also, we are going to be doing a content side as well. And so, as Captain has already said, he's going to have a segment series on it. And actually, you're all going to find this very surprising, but it may involve him on a certain private field firing certain things at various targets. And it is called, what is it called again?
We were going for On the Range, or just The Range. Yours is The Forge, so I think mine should be The Range.
So, Captain's going to have The Range, and it's going to be where, obviously, what he does now as well, but more so for the Foam Alliance, because we've talked about it. You can't go out and buy every single blaster. You don't always have access. I don't even own every single blaster. And so it is a great venue to actually see how it performs, what it does, and therefore you can decide for yourself, wow, this is cool, I want to get it, or, oh my Lord, no, I'm not getting that at all. Myself, mine's going to be the Forge, and the Forge is going to be, as you can probably imagine, because some of you may wonder, how does he do that? Why does he do that? How does it happen? So it'll be segments in terms of different things I make, how I make it, tips and tricks on terms of how to painting, how to combine, how to make big, ridiculous barrels if you don't have a 3D printer, and then also like master keys, which apparently I make a few of. Then some of the other options we're going to have is going to be Sophie Lightning is going to be part of it as well. It's going to be the Lightning Hour with Sophie Lightning. If y'all don't know who she is, I shouldn't have to explain that. Then we're also going to have Maritime Foam. He's going to be on it as well. And actually parts of it we may be doing where it's kind of like his Friday Night Foam, where he does interviews with people. We're also going to have, who am I missing there? Oh, Dart Sweep, Andrew, who is the ringleader for all this and try to wrangle us all and organize us as well. But you'll see a lot of his stuff as well on it. And then also there's going to be, I can't remember the name, is it Hooch and, do you remember the name of it, Captain?
Hammer and Hooch?
Yes, Hammer and Hooch, where it's going to be almost like a Mythbuster style where they're going to mod and eventually probably blow up blasters, which will be fun.
That will be fascinating.
It will be. But then also at the same time, we're going to provide venues where we're going to provide opportunities for different people in the hobby. They may have segments or series or something like that, basically providing, again, a centralized content, not to trump any other social medias or say, like, this is where you got to go. But again, if we got everybody here and they find you here, then they can actually go out and find whatever it is you do, whatever social media platform and how you do it to find you there as well. So again, it's trying to bring
collaborations.
Correct. And trying to bring like everything about cool in the one place that you can find it all.
Yeah, and as to expand on something you mentioned earlier, the goal here isn't to standardize the hobby. It's not a goal to try to make sure that everyone everywhere is playing by the same rules or everywhere is using the same standards. It isn't about that. There isn't going to be this is how you have to run your Nerf events if you want to be part of this. It's connecting people. Now, it might try to standardize tournament play, because if it's going to run a tournament, there is going to be a standard play there. But like the size of your field, the amount of cover you have on your field at your club, you still have every right to do that the way you do it. Just be aware that if you do then go to a WFA tournament, there will be a standard they will be holding, but it's not going to try to tell you, what your respawn times have to be, what version of capture the flag you have to play, what your FPS settings have to be. It's not about that. It's not trying to become the authority within the hobby. It's meant to be a hub for the hobby, and that is something we've been lacking. The fact that every single club I've ever been to, every different HVZ I've ever been to, they've all been slightly different. I find that to be one of the best things about the hobby, because it's always something new. It's always something interesting. It's a little difference here, a little difference. One club does their zombie tank this way. The other one does a zombie tank this way. One group makes their cover this big. One group makes it this big. One has this rule for shields, that rule for shields. Different variants on capture the flag, plant the flag, VIP, just because the way we did it didn't work for them because they didn't have the same terrain, or they didn't have the same resources, or they didn't have the same number of people, or they just had a slightly different culture in the way they wanted to play. And that's one of the beautiful things about it. And that's actually something that we want to emphasize through here. Is one of the things we were talking about was having, a whole segment on, here's all the different variants of capture the flag that we've managed to track down from all these different clubs. Here, let's take a look at them. Well, they do it this way. There's one flag and you're fighting over it. There's two flags and you're both fighting over it. You're trying to get the flag to your base. You're trying to get your flag to their base. There's a lot of different ways you could do that. And again, that makes starting a club easier because you have variations. Which one of those will actually work for you in your environment? If you've got a really asymmetric field, there are game modes that work better on an asymmetric field as opposed to a symmetrical field. Little things like that. So it's not trying to tell you how to do it. It's just helping you come up with the way you want to do it.
Because we want to maintain that diversity.
A database of game types, a database which does exist. There is already the game mode repository. That would be something that would either be referenced or potentially rolled in. Maybe we'll bring them in and have them. All right, you're responsible for this part of this thing. Hunt the people down, get the data. Because that's one of the things that I think is going to be the hardest, is keeping the information up to date. Because things change constantly. Clubs change names, clubs fizzle out, new clubs get formed, leadership changes, especially with HVZs. There's basically a complete turnover of the entire HVZ club every 4 years because they're on a campus and people graduate. And sometimes the club doesn't survive, and sometimes the club does survive, and who's keeping all that information up to date? Well, a lot of it is, like I said, going to be crowdsourced of whoever's in charge of the club. We are asking, kindly put your information in here. If something changes, please let us know, because if this grows as big as we're hoping, it's going to be very, very difficult to keep track of everything. All the different events that are happening, all the different clubs that pop up or disappear or change locations or whatever. That's something that it's going to take a lot of work, and we know that. We know it's not going to be, we're going to have all the information on every club in the world by tomorrow afternoon. That's just not going to happen, and it's constantly going to need to be updated and changed. But that's why we're
actually
all on board. What?
You touched upon one thing before I forget about it, is the fact that there will also be a centralized calendar. The idea being is that every event, because you all know it, you want to go to different events, you have no idea when it's happening, or you find out after it's happened. The idea being of having a centralized calendar where you can actually post your event on that calendar. And that way, it's not just have to track down 4 or 7 different places or hope someone tells you. You as a group can post that. We'll post all the relative ones. And for a lot of it, we can't make it to all events. And sometimes I can make it to 2 or 3. But having that calendar throughout the whole year, you can then actually plan out your year, because we all know everyone's got jobs, never mind finances or locations trying to get to events.
Yeah, you have to pick. Not everyone can go to
where it is.
Not everyone can go to Endor. Yeah. Not everyone can go to Ragnar Oktoberfest. Not everyone can make it to UMBC. But if it turns out there's an event a 2-hour drive from you, a smaller HVZ, that one you might be able to go to. But right now, you don't know about it. I mean, there could be HVZs within 2 hours of me, and I don't even know about it. And this is what I do. I have no idea if Evergreen has a club right now. I have no idea if WWU has a club right now. Because there's no central repository for that information. I would have to go track it down, see if there is someone in charge, see if it's up to date, see if they're allowing stuff. And yeah, I could do that. But I've already got a Nerf event every weekend of every month for the rest of the year. But Not everybody does. Other people, they've got no events. They would love to know that there are, in fact, 5 events within driving distance of them. And there probably is. And if there isn't, I'll guarantee you there are enough people locally interested for someone to start it. But they need to have a way to do that. This will give them all the tools of what do you need. For a lot of things, we've said that Facebook isn't the great option, but for a local club, it is still a good tool. But it's not a good advertising tool. Unless people know that you've got a Facebook group, they're probably not going to find it by accident. It's not like it's going to, show up on their stream all of a sudden. But if there was a website you could go to that would then link you to the Facebook group of the club that's in Cincinnati, then you could find the club in Cincinnati, as opposed to trolling through Facebook, hoping that you can find the club that's called itself Cincinnati Facebook, as opposed to something else. Cincinnati Nerf Club.
By the way, as we're talking, everyone pay attention to what Derek says, because he touches on little points in addition to what we're talking about. So yeah, and if you're watching this after, just follow what Derek and Dart Sweep say, because they throw in pointers of stuff that Cap and I may have missed.
Yeah, like you said, the pro level stuff would be standardized, because that's the whole point of that, is to make an actual league like the NBA or the NBL, whatever. And for that to work, it has to be standardized. Everyone has to be playing by the same rules for the tournaments that it's running. You are perfectly capable of playing a completely different variant of baseball on your local baseball diamond in your free time if you feel like it, but you can't then go to a baseball tournament and expect them to play by your rules. He also did mention that, yes, you must having fun. Everyone must have fun, and that's just rule 0 for everywhere. Usually rule 1. Rule 0 is usually don't be a dick, followed by rule 1. Have fun. If you're not having fun, let's try to figure out why. Often it's...
Now, also, to follow on that point, and I'm pretty sure about it because someone had asked me about the option of gatekeeping. Because this is a central repository of information, there's not like groups or venues where, much like other social medias where they can group chats going on and people can bully each other. There is no option for that anywhere on the site. It's just, here's information. This is how you connect to one another. So you don't have to worry about joining this and all of a sudden cliques forming or groups forming, because that's also something, if they somehow manage to manifest that in the group, I can pretty well assure you that we're going to wipe that stuff out. Because you know why? I love this thing and I don't need anybody messing with it. Do you understand that? I am a big on, let's all have fun and play nice. And if you don't want to play nice, go
somewhere else. This isn't the hobby for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go bully somewhere else, man.
Where clubs will be organized. This will be the place where you find out that there is a club and then go to the place where the club is organized, whether it's Discord or Facebook or however they're organizing their club. And I'm pretty sure there will be, I assume there's gonna be a Discord for this. I could be wrong.
There's a Discord. Go find the Discord. We are actually telling people to go with the Discord. It's the World Foam Alliance Discord. You can go there. Many of us are in there all the time, so we'll answer questions. Now, understandably, we're all busy people, so we can't sit there and chat for you for hours and hours on end. Like, I know that'd be great, but I got a job and a side business, and then blah. Yeah, there's a lot going on, but we will happily answer questions as much as we can.
So, I'm excited about it. I'm looking forward to it. So, are there any questions we can actually answer?
Link is worldfoamalliance.org. Yep. Derek, drop the link for the Discord if you can, or the name of it, please, or Andrew.
Yes, venues are something that's always the hardest part. The hardest part about getting an event going is having a place to hold it. Now, the good news is just about every town in America has a city park. Not every park will let you use it that way. It's something you should talk to, go talk to Parks and Rec or City Hall or whoever you need to talk to ask, can we use this? Because some don't allow any kind of projectile launcher in their park for whatever reason. Some will, but you got to ask. It's always a good idea to talk to the local police so that if somebody says, there's people shooting people in the park, and they know that there's a Nerf war that day, the response might be slightly different. I've had the police called in some of my Nerf wars. We've had to call the police at some of our Nerf wars. But it's a crazy person harassing our players. It all got settled. As soon as the police walked up, their response was, "Oh, it's him." Like, oh, good. We're not going to have too much difficulty here. Yeah,
It wasn't me, for the
that's the
record.
sort of thing that would be on our, how to start a Nerf club. How to get your venue is going to be a big one. The advantage, again, of Nerf is that we can usually play in a city park, and city parks are free. Unless you reserve them, some of them may require a reservation fee. Indoor locations, they're definitely going to cost money. Private locations almost always cost money unless someone in your club owns property and has set up a thing on their property for some sort of... Who would do such a thing?
I tell you.
Yeah, venue is always the hardest. If you want an indoor air-conditioned location, that's not going to be free, almost certainly. But it also might. There might be some place that would actually let you, but you gotta look into it. It might entirely be that somebody was like, you know what, after hours, you're welcome to use our building. I've got kids, and they will come and play, and so I will let you use our building because maybe they won't. Insurance is always going to be an issue, but that's another thing that is also going to be a resource available through WFA, is resources for how to actually start a club as a nonprofit or as an LLC so that you can actually get insurance, and that opens up so many venues. One, it gives you a way to actually collect funds legally to be able to pay for dues and to pay for insurance. And that there's a lot of venues that they won't let you play unless you have your own insurance. And they shouldn't let you play if you don't have your own insurance, because if you break something or hurt somebody, then it's on them. This is something that, a lot of our clubs, even Panic still is not an official, nonprofit or organization. We've been looking into it, but it takes a lot of work, and most of us have jobs and don't have the expertise. Well, now we have a way for you to get access to that expertise and be able to actually do it properly, which is a huge benefit to so many things. It has downsides. Once you're official, then there's rules that you have to follow that may make things harder. But again, the advantages almost certainly are going to outweigh it once you get to a certain size. If it's 5 guys in a park, it's 5 guys in a park. If it's 80 people wanting to host a big event, you're going to need event insurance. It's probably a good idea, because eventually someone's going to get hurt or something's going to get broken, and then you're going to have an issue. But again, getting access to that information, that information is available, but if you don't know where to look, you don't know what questions to ask, you don't even know what things you don't know, there's currently no good resource for that. There's nobody centralizing that, organizing it, has that expertise, knows how to find that expertise, can make it readily available and easily digestible for anybody to go, oh yeah, here's the forms you need, here's the stuff you need. Fill out these boxes and check this and find 5 people willing to put their name on it. Sometimes it's really simple,
The fun
sometimes
stuff.
it's really complicated, but everything's complicated if you don't know how to do it.
Absolutely. And so, like, part of it, I think Derek just posted, it's called Wootson. That's the company that's going to be helping with that. One thing I wanted to touch upon is that with the being able to buy tickets, being able to actually set up like GoFundMe's kind of in the actual WFA in your community group, where you can post like things to your group members saying, all right, we need X. Like, for example, let's say you have a group of 40, 50 people and you got to get new cover and everyone will love it, but you don't want to blatantly go, hey, can someone pay for it? You can actually set up like a fund me option within the community when you can say, this is what our goal is, it's for this. And then through the site, then people can donate to like achieve those goals in the community, especially if you got a group willing to share. And obviously they'd rather do it where they can see it instead of, yeah, just give me $20 next Friday and we'll make it happen. You know what I mean? It keeps people honest. Yeah. And it's also a better way of reaching your members. On the same token, which is going to be a fun option, and I've seen it because people ask me, many groups try to have raffles where they try to raise funds for their groups, where they give away blasters or other venues. Like a good example, I guess, is the one happening is Nerfing for Autism that happens in North Carolina, where they set up online raffles to sell stuff, and everything they make that day, they donate to the Autism Society in North Carolina. So through the WFA, there will be a raffle option where you can sell tickets. And the best thing of that is it doesn't matter if they're in person or not, and it's a great way for who's actually sold tickets and to be able to sell it outside of the community or within the community and mean you don't have to be there for the event in case you can't be there, or if you got to leave early and you have no idea if you won. So one, it's to make sure you bought tickets so you can actually win, and two, it's a great way of raising money. So part of what we're going to do, and Derek and I talked about earlier today, and we'll finalize details later, because this portion of the website will roll out, I think it was in September to October. And when that happens, we're probably just going to do a WFA wide raffle. And it'll be something small, like 50 cents or a buck a ticket. And I'm probably going to give away, you know what? I'm probably going to make some giant master key, and we'll do that. We'll do a raffle. People can buy raffle tickets. And if you win, I'm sending you a master key. Any funds that are raised from that will probably just go back into continuing the growth of WFA. It's not going in my pocket. It's not going in Captain's pocket. It's not going in Derek's pocket. But the big thing for that is kind of showing what
That would be pretty cool. Yeah, because as we said, resources are one of the things that are shortcoming. And yes, you can start a club with very, very little, but eventually you're going to want more stuff. You're going to want cover. You're going to want a megaphone. You're going to want, team flags. You're going to want, scoring buckets. You're going to want stuff. And this is a way that can be done without necessarily having to collect dues. Because some people don't have it to give, and other people have more than enough to give. And this way that can be organized better than you just, putting a tip jar at your event and hoping people throw money in it. That is an option, of course, but this way it's perhaps more organized and more structured, and then people from other places can help. Anyone in the group, anybody in Waffle that wants to throw a buck towards another group getting their game admin box put together can do so.
there's actually also in that same link, I'm glad you mentioned that. There's actually also going to be a sponsorship option, meaning different groups. There's going to be a function where you can go get sponsors, and not necessarily you have to hit up like Captain Xavier, Al the Geek, or someone else. Hey, can you sponsor my group? But much like the same venue when you think of kids' sports teams, when they go out and they find local people in their businesses and they'll like throw money at you. So you can actually do sponsorships that way for local companies, especially if you got people in your groups that have small businesses or other ways. It's a venue to set up where they'll get the online like kind of presence that they're actually sponsoring your group. And again, it doesn't have to be someone Nerf. It could be the family cleaners. It could be a guy that owns a pizza joint, but he just loves what you're doing and he decides to throw money at you.
The international Nerf equivalent of the Rotary Club.
Yes. So there'll be an option where you can actually go out and find sponsors for your club, and it doesn't have to be Nerf related at all, which is also great because then it also helps burger joint and say, man, we do Nerf groups and we're looking for sponsors. And suddenly it's like, shut up, you do that? I like that. And it doesn't have to be someone necessarily in the community, but gives you the option to raise money to help grow your group. And again, it's the exchange, right? It's a fantastic option. Otherwise, how are you going to do it? Like, I would have no idea how to go do that. Go knock on someone's door. Hey, man, I got a Nerf group. Want to sponsor me? What?
That's weird. But when you didn't, again, have an international organization that's backing it, it's a little bit more like Pee Wee Baseball or, the local little kids soccer league or whatever. But now it's Nerf, which again is considered safe and considered family friendly, and people are interested in that. So many people have kids, they probably have Nerf blasters, but they've got nowhere to play. They just lose all the darts, and then the blaster just sits in a box somewhere. Well, if you've got a club that has a bucket full of darts that everyone's allowed to draw from, like, show up with your blaster and have fun. Yeah, I'm excited about it. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes, how it grows, what it leads into. I'm hoping that there's all kinds of resources that I'm hoping it'll help me with that will improve what I'm able to do as well, both with my channel, with being able to go to events and meet people and do stuff and help promote this concept and make my local Nerf wars better and help more clubs grow in this area so that we don't have to do absolutely everything at Borst ourselves. I'm excited.
Perfect. So then again, worldfoamalliance.org. Go find a Discord again, World Foam Alliance as well. And there'll be more about it coming. This is just Well, this turned into a 40 minutes or 50-minute synopsis of what it is,
Yes.
but